My name is Alex. Some of you know me as Dopamine, Picnic Boy, or Abwa, but my name is Alex. I wanted to make this video today as an episode 0 of a new series that I'm going to be making, but this isn't a real episode of this series. Not yet, anyway. This is a prologue. This is episode 0. This is about my journey up until this point in my life, and basically how I came to be sitting here clicking cakes in a medieval adventure game from 2001. This is going to be part video essay, part state of the channel, and honestly, part therapy session. I just wanted to get my thoughts down here on video while I sit here and click my cakes. Now, if you're a keen-eyed observer, you've probably noticed that this is the first time I've uploaded a video in about 4 months. Even more keen-eyed person would notice that this is the first proper YouTube video that I've had in well over a year. The last time that I tried to put together a series was about 4 years ago. Since then, I've changed cities, I've gotten married, and I've changed careers even. A lot has changed. It's been a bit of a mixed bag. Really? This dude is going to crash me in the middle of the video. Awesome. So, I guess it begs a question. Why am I trying to resurrect a dead YouTube channel that hasn't had proper content in over 4 years? Well, first of all, I'm too stubborn to give up on this channel. Secondly, it's also where my mom knows to find my YouTube content. But in all seriousness, I have made probably so much content in the last 4 years, and for whatever reason, I guess I just decided it wasn't good enough or it wasn't worthy to be uploaded. I'm dead serious. There's like a 4 terabyte hard drive in my closet with hours and hours of cut together YouTube videos that are ready to be uploaded, and I don't think they're ever going to see the light of day. Maybe though. Anything is possible. I never like to say never. But that's not what this is about. This isn't about what I did or didn't deem worthy of my channel. This is about an experience that I had with my dad about a year ago. I just bought a condo, and my dad was coming down to help me remodel my kitchen and install some new lights in our kitchen and do some drywall work and do some different stuff. I basically sent my wife away. I said, hey, have a nice weekend have a nice weekend with your friends. Go enjoy that. Dad and I are going to remodel the kitchen. One night when we was there, he asked me what I'd been up to recently and like what I'd been doing outside of work. And, my dad always tried to be like involved in my hobbies and different stuff like that. And one night when he was there, he asked me what I'd been up to. And at the time, I was really into speedrunning, and I loved speedrunning Pokemon Red. Was I good at it? Hell no. I wasn't very good at it. But I love streaming it. I love making videos about it. I love making content about it. And you can actually find a bunch of those videos still on my channel to this day. See, my dad never really understood my hobbies or like what I was into when I was younger. We grew up on a ranch, and he didn't get why I would want to stay inside and play video games all day instead of going outside. When I got older and I started driving, he didn't understand why I wanted to go to the card shop with my friends till midnight on a Friday and play Magic the Gathering. At first, he thought I was going to a store that actually sold greeting cards. So I guess he thought I was really into greeting cards or on drugs, but I digress. So this day, my dad asked me what I'd been up to, and I decided to just show him my YouTube content. I showed him my channel, I showed him my speedrunning videos, I showed him all this stuff, and I explained to him that there's this whole big community of people who all compete against themselves and each other to see who can play through a video game the fastest. The content that I made wasn't very good, but it was mine, and I enjoyed making it. And I was proud of it. And that is why I was like so shocked when my dad was like, hey, why don't you check out my YouTube channel? And I was like, what are you talking about, Dad? I thought that he had made a YouTube channel and was making like playlists and doing all this different stuff. Oh, he's trying to lure this guy over here, isn't he? This is how 2 of my teammates have died, by the way, is getting this knight like lured over here while you're trying to pickpocket cakes. Anyway, sorry. So I showed my dad my YouTube channel, and he was like, check out my YouTube channel. And I thought he was just making playlists of like dog videos or something like that. Like I didn't know what he was up to. But my dad was actually making content. Like he was making videos of tractors and trains and old cars that he had owned and like all of this stuff. And it was crazy because my dad, like at the time my dad was 70 and he was making all this content. And the thing that drove me crazy is like his content was better than mine. And it was better than mine because it was something that he like cared about. He was making the content that he wanted to make. Like people didn't really like, I would never have in a million years thought that people wanted to watch videos of trains and 2-cylinder tractors and old cars and all this stuff. And like he made this content and it was great. And this sort of planted an idea in my head, sort of planted the seed in my head. And I wanted to get back into making content. Like the things that he was making were just downright inspired. And it wasn't like incredibly popular content. Like he wasn't pulling down tons and tons of views, but he had pulled down more views than my channel did. And that was just crazy to me. And like the thing was, is he made content that was from the heart and he did the things that he wanted to make. And like I said, these videos had thousands of views on them. Like he didn't have all of the things that I had. He didn't have, the HD video camera. He didn't have like a really nice webcam. He didn't have a Yeti mic. He didn't even have a good computer to edit on. He was editing on like Windows Movie Maker on like Windows XP off of this laptop that was like 10 years old. And he was shooting all of these videos on his iPhone 5, which in like 2020 was like just dirt old, right? And I was just baffled. Again, I was just floored that like thousands of people wanted to see a 43-second clip of a train made by a man in his 70s that was shot on a shaky iPhone camera. So that was just crazy to me. Now, kind of talking about RuneScape a little bit, I've played RuneScape in some iteration since like 2003. I started when it was RuneScape Classic, when it was like 2.5D. And found my way over to old school RuneScape when it came out in 2014. It was cool. I really liked playing it. I had a main. I progressed, like, I got a quest cape. I progressed to, like, some pretty high level content and all that stuff, but it just didn't hold my attention like it used to. Like, I used to be able to play, when I was a kid, RuneScape for, like, hours and hours because we had, like, old potato internet. Like, we had dial-up, and, like, RuneScape was the only game in the advent of online gaming that like worked on dial-up internet. So I played the crap out of RuneScape. I don't know. I just didn't hold my attention, and I think it was because of the advent, maybe. I think it was because maybe the advent of guides and wikis and YouTube and like all of this stuff. And there was all this content that seemed like impossible when I was a kid, right? Like Dagonoth Kings and God Wars Dungeon and all this stuff. And it was stuff that like seemed so like elite and so like out of the realm of what it is that I could do as a kid. And like, I don't know, because of like all of this stuff, this content was just solved. Like people knew how to do DKs, people knew how to do God Wars Dungeon, like people knew how to do all this stuff. So I was doing that kind of stuff. Yeah. And I don't know, just didn't hold my attention very much. I just felt like I was playing the game and grinding the game to make money in the most efficient way possible so that I could like do other content that I wanted to do and like grind my skills and do all this stuff. Like it just felt like I was on this treadmill of like making money. And it wasn't super fun, and it felt like the game honestly had been solved. Like it had been solved at that point. So in October of 2019, my life changed forever. That is when I made my first Ironman. That is when I got Dopamine, my Ironman character, and it was like so much fun. I played my Ironman kind of as a sort of like a palate cleanser in between sessions I'm playing on my main, and I was like, oh, look how crazy hard it is to train Herblore. Oh, I gotta kill Chaos Druids, or like whatever. And I don't know, it just like started off as this little palate cleanser thing. Ooh, 36 thieving. And then it turned into like so much more than that. I found myself playing my main less and less because I just wasn't in love with sitting there and like grinding Vorkath because that was the most efficient money maker at the time. I wasn't down on this like treadmill of like just how much GP per hour that I could get. I was actually grinding to advance my account. Every unlock was earned and meaningful, and I found myself playing my main less and less, and I couldn't tell you when I stopped playing my main entirely, but there came a point where I just stopped playing my main entirely. I realized that I genuinely loved Ironman mode. Like, I thought Ironman mode was the coolest thing ever. And I always wanted to make old school content. But I always felt like I had an interesting... Like, let me back up. I never really felt like I had anything interesting to say, or I never really had something to say that hadn't been said by someone else already. Right? Like, I had this huge content drought on my channel because I was just, like, playing RuneScape, and I wanted to make RuneScape content, and I just didn't. I was consuming a ton of old school RuneScape content at the time. That's when I got into, like, Settled and his Swampletics series, Jimmy by Release, Framed, like, all of his different crazy stuff that he does with PKing. But there was, like, so many others. But those are, like, the big three that were, like, super influential on me. And, yeah, you guys remember that hard drive in my closet? It's filled to the brim with old school RuneScape content that I made after I started watching Swampletics, actually. Like, I thought Swampletics was the coolest thing in the world, and I just started going around RuneScape and just recording stuff that I was doing and talking about it. Like, it wasn't anything fancy or crazy or anything like that, but I, like, decided that it wasn't good enough for my YouTube channel, right? Like, I decided that they weren't interesting, or, like, these videos were better off being made by somebody else. It was a lot of stories that went untold. And, I think back and I'm like, wow, what could have been if I would have just uploaded that? But, I don't like to think about that too much. I don't like to think about what could have been. So, back to the story with my dad. The last Father's Day that I spent with him, I gave him a GoPro. So he'd been diagnosed with lymphoma a few months before Father's Day of this year of 2021. And he was making, like, a really good recovery, though. And he was, like, recovering really well. And I remember that day he, like, looked super good. He was, like the chemo drugs weren't, like, kicking his ass. And he was, like, moving around and doing stuff and like, was doing really, really well. And so I gave him this GoPro, and I joked with him. I was like, hey, Dad, like, I really want to up the production value on your YouTube videos. And, I just was so impressed with what he was doing, and I thought, like, maybe if he had some better tools, like, he could make better content, and, like, I don't know. My dad was just so inspiring to me that, like, I wanted to inspire him back, I guess. And so... He was still making content, by the way, while he was sick. Like, he was still making YouTube videos. He was still doing stuff like that. Now, granted, he wasn't, like, out there, like, jumping up on tractors. But he was, like, taking all of these old photos of, like, cars and tractors and stuff, and, like, uploaded them to music and, like, put them in a slideshow, and, like, those got views. And he was still creating from the heart, and that was so impressive to me. And, yeah, I told him, like, hey, when you get better, like, we're going to have to make some tractor videos once you're in remission. And then 3 months after that, my dad passed away. It was a Thursday morning. And, nothing really prepares you to lose a parent like that. That was really, really hard. And then that was compounded by the fact that I lost my job, like, a week after that. And I was kind of, like, right before my dad passed, I was, like, streaming. I was, like, there was, like, a trickle of content coming out, right? And that completely cut off. And I, like, stopped streaming. I stopped making YouTube content. I, like, stopped even, like, pretending to make YouTube content, like, cutting videos together and then never uploading them. Like, I just stopped all of that. And I just felt, like, really empty, and I felt like my life had no meaning. It was really hard. It was, like, really hard to, like, lose my dad and then lose my job and just be in that place where it's like, I'm married, like, I'm not taking care of my family, I'm not doing those things that I need to be doing. But everybody in my life was so supportive, and I mean, thank God for my wife and my friends, and they were so supportive and just wonderful, and I couldn't have done it without you guys. I'm dead serious, sincerely, like from the bottom of my heart, thank you. And you all know who you are. So my dad had passed away, I lost my job, and then there was about a 3-month gap where nothing happened. Like, nothing happened. I did start a new job. That was about 3 weeks ago. And it's funny, I started this job 3 weeks ago, and like everything started to happen all at once. And then over this last week, it got absolutely insane in terms of things happening. So last Friday, I met up with some just fantastic people from the Ironscape subreddit, and we formed a group Ironman team, which is the character that I'm playing right now. I'm playing on my group Ironman. This is going to be the character I'm going to be making content for. So I met up with them last Friday, and it was awesome. And I wasn't thinking about making content then. I wasn't in that headspace. And then last night, so Sunday night, I was digging around in my closet, and I found the GoPro that I gave to my dad for Father's Day. It was in a box of stuff that my mom had given to me or whatever that I hadn't gone through. And I don't know, that sort of seed was planted in my head. And then today on my way home from my new job, I was just inspired. I just was tonight's the night. I'm going to sit down. I'm going to make content. I'm going to do stuff. And I came up with this idea of episode 0. And episode 0 was to tell you guys the story that I just told you. And so I didn't have any paper in my car. I was stuck in traffic, but I had a pen, and I started jotting down an outline for what would become the script for this video on this dirty old napkin or whatever. And while I was doing that on my way home, and I just wanted to talk about my dad, and I wanted to talk about how much he meant to me and all the ways that he inspired me to make content, just do the things that I'm passionate about. If I learned anything from my dad, it's to just do the things that you're passionate about, and success will follow. And stop worrying about SEO and running a fancy webcam and having perfect audio quality, doing all this stuff, and just make content, and the rest will come. So, I was so excited coming home tonight. I wanted to, it wasn't quite ready, but I wanted to share this series with y'all. That's why I'm sitting here clicking cakes. It's a little lacking in content right now. I know, I promise. Episode 1 is going to go up next week. It is going to have way more content than just clicking cakes. I promise. And I know that you guys, thank you for bearing with me. If you're still with me at this point in the video, you've been watching me click cakes for however long I've been clicking cakes for. But I just, like I said, I couldn't wait for a first episode to share this. I wanted to share this story. I wanted to share sort of the inspiration and the different things that had happened. And yeah, I'm not going to ditch this series in my closet. I'm not dealing with depression like I was. This video is like a homecoming for me. I am home. I'm back making content. I'm back doing the things that I enjoy doing, and I'm here, and I'm back, and I'm ready to make some content. And I'm going to make the content that I want to make, and I'm not going to wait for somebody else to make it, and I'm not going to talk myself out of it and say oh, somebody else can make this content better than me or something like that. No, I'm just going to make the content, because I'm not framed, I'm not settled, I'm not Jimmy, I'm Alex.